Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Restomod Daisy, and as promised, we fished this out of the evaporust tank the other day, yesterday. So today we're going to hit it up with a wire wheel and see just how pretty we can get this steel to look in a bare naked kind of fashion. I use a variable speed bench grinder for this kind of work, set it on the lowest setting. It's an 8-inch grinder, so it's got a lot of bearing surface. And typically I do this work with a fine wire wheel. Set it at the lowest RPM speed because I'm not looking at taking any metal. All I want to do is get the gunge off. And speaking of gunge, there's some more gunge. So we'll wipe that little bit of stuff out of the way, and we'll get on with the process. So let's crank her over. Now, normally when I start working on these guns, I start working at the roll stamp, make a pass or two and see what it looks like. Make sure I'm not taking off too much, if any. But you can definitely tell this was a rusty old girl before we put her in the evaporust tank. And it's showing up pretty well. And there you can see it pretty well. It says Red Ryder carbine, Plymouth, Michigan gun. So it's showing up okay. So we'll just continue on with the process. So do the crown and move down to the side panels of the receiver. And what you're looking for is, we're doing it in this orientation because we want the stripes in the metal, or what appear to be stripes, to be all running in the same direction. That'll help with the satin look the gun will take once we fire blow it. Now this little guy here is always problematic because of the complex material. You've got the Latigo loop, the mount, and the area underneath. So you got to dig around a little bit. Work that because we want to get all that metal looking the same. You can see that, how it's starting to brighten up a tad. The evaporust pulled all the rust off. There we go. But as you can see, when you get it in the metal, you can see the pivots from the rust itself, the small divots in the steel. But if you polish in the same direction, it usually ends up looking pretty good once you fire blow it. Pop rivet there can be a problem. You gotta work around it. But as you work with your wheel, you'll notice that you can definitely see where you've been and where you need to go. Take care of the rear seat. That pickled look on the steel just reflects how much rust was on the gun. You can't take those pits out. You could if you filed them, but on a gun with thin sheet metal, that's a dubious prospect. You might get the pits out, but you might end up with a see-through Daisy. And I don't think anybody wants that. At least I don't want that. There we go. Now, if you don't have a wire wheel, you can achieve the same effects with sandpaper, but you're going to need to start with fairly fine sandpaper and then move up to finer grits. I've seen other people's work on the internet with sandpaper alone, and they can get to a mirror bright finish. I don't like that myself for fire bluing, because while it does look sharp, it really highlights any issues with the steel itself. I find that this looks real good in fire blue. So we got the receiver tabs done there. Let's move to the other side. Then we'll move down to the barrel shroud and take a peek at what's going on there. Yeah, I see some smut still in there. See if we can eliminate that. Work on that Latigo loop some more. In terms of a process, you You might end up doing this more than once before you get to a point where you're happy with the results. That's okay. It isn't exactly a production environment. The only guy that you've got working on your project is you. And I guess if you wanted to be a real, bear about things, you could insist on timely performance. I personally don't care for that environment. All right, so we're getting about done with the receiver, at least the easy stuff. So we're going to move on to the barrel shroud next, because that's where we'll find our surprises if we have any. Right now, this looks like a really nice piece of steel. You can see the remnants of the original blue here and there. But you never really know about dents on a Daisy until you get all the schmutz off the front. So I basically just kind of walk the gun over, do a really quarter turn kind of thing, not even quarter turn, until you hit the fake magazine tube. And roll down that. And if you bind in or bear into your wheel too much, you'll slow it down. So back off on the pressure. You're not trying to take steel off, you're just taking off the chemical coat from the evaporust after the chelation effect. Let's see what that looks like. That's acceptable. Got a little dink there I didn't see before. So we'll roll on down the rest of the shroud, and then we'll probably call it quits for this video because I think that's about as long as anybody can stand to look at this here. I could be wrong. I'm sure the comments will let me know when we go. But this is a process for fire blue. You need to get it to bare steel. You don't need to leave any paint on it. You don't need to leave any rust on it. Because if you do, when you go to do the fire bluing process, the blue oxide coat will not form over rust. It only works on bare steel. Now we'll cover that more in the video we're going to do on fire bluing later this week. See how we're looking here. That's not too bad. You see the difference. It's got a nice brushed look to it. It'll catch light. It'll look really good when we get done with it. So one last pass on the old MAC tube. See the difference? And then, I think it'll be about time. There we go. You can see the areas that are not quite done. But by and large, that's the process. Just be slow with the wire wheel, medium speed. Oh, look at that. We found a dent we didn't see before. That's not really recoverable, but I'm not going to worry about it. And that's wire wheeling to prepare for fire bluing here at the Restomod Development Facility. That's all we've got for you tonight, kids. This is Shane Bruce with Restomod Daisy, signing off.